Well, Clemson Tiger fans, college football fans, welcome back to another post-game live right here on Clemson at the Voice of College Football. Clemson beats Boston College tonight, a depleted and overmatched Boston College team. 41-10 is the final score in Chestnut Hill. Clemson rolls on to another victory the second week in a row. We're going to dive into all of that. We're going to talk about the game, talk about the first half, obviously, talk about what we thought about the second half and some of the turnovers in that half. We'll get into all of that and more. But before we get into tonight's show, before we get into the live reaction, if you're not subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button for us. We're on the road to 6,000 subscribers, getting pretty close to it. So your help with that would be greatly appreciated. Hit that like button. Really helps us out on these live videos. We got channel memberships. We just finished up a game watch-along stream with our channel members. So if that's something that you're interested in, you want to come hang out with me and Jordan during the live show. Hold on one second, guys. Sorry about that, guys. But if you want to come hang out with us during the live game and do kind of a game watch along, if that's something you're interested in, be sure to become a channel member right below this video. There'll be a join button, and you can click that join button, select from the 3 different tiers that are available, and those videos will be available to you at that point in time. And then last but certainly not least, we got the super chat feature. We'll have quite a few comments in here tonight. As you guys know, at the end of the show, me and Jordan will get to as many questions and comments as we can. We can't get to all of them, so if you want to ensure that your question and or comment is read to and responded during this live video, hit that super chat feature. It helps support the show, and we will be sure to respond to you. With all of that said, and without further ado, I'm going to bring on my co-host, Jordan Bowman. What's up, Jordan? How you doing tonight?
Good, man. Good. You know, this is it's always nice to do these after a win. You've wrecked 2 in a row. You're officially on a winning streak at this point
For the first time all season.
I know it's strange. It's an unfamiliar feeling.
It's weird. Weird.
But no, good to see this team, take care of business mostly. We felt going into this game that, this BC team would be overmatched, and we didn't predict it. We predicted a closer game, but this was always in the cards. And, I'm happy to see the team, they responded really well. They scored on every possession in the first half. And they didn't punt, and they didn't have their first punt until midway through the fourth quarter. So, all of those things, good to see. I was very pleased with how they started the game, and, just kind of the game plan offensively in particular. They did a good job. Guys executed. They made plays. They made sure to feed their best players, and they went and made plays. And that's how you get, 34 points in the first half, and you basically put the game out of reach, kind of similar to what you did against North Carolina last week. So, just a good win. This team is starting to find some things. They're developing a consistency in play, at least when they play these teams that are overmatched. Now, they have a much larger test looming next week against SMU, rematch of the ACC championship game. But this was a good performance to build off of and head into that game with.
Yeah, look, absolutely. Great win tonight for Clemson. Again, a very depleted and overmatched Boston College team that they beat tonight. But, much like we talked about last week, is there a ton that you can garner from this win? Probably not, but it's good just to go out there and beat a team that's not playing well badly, right? That's what you're supposed to do. When you're more talented, that's what you're supposed to do. When a team is kind of riddled by injuries like Boston College is right now, you're supposed to go out there and dominate, and that's exactly what Clemson did. Specifically in the first half, Jordan. Let's talk about that first half a little bit and kind of the offensive explosion in the first half for the second week in a row. The offense scored on every single possession of the first half. Um, all of them were touchdowns outside of the first and I guess that last possession heading into halftime. They kicked 2 field goals there. But other than that, they punched it in the end zone every single time. The play calling looked creative, getting players, your playmakers, the ball out in space yet again for a second week in a row. Cade Klubnik looked to be throwing on time. He looked comfortable, looked like he was making good reads. So just kind of your thoughts on the first half. I know Boston College had that one drive in the first half where the defense kind of let them go on that methodical drive and punch it in for a score. But other than that, the first half was sheer domination by the Clemson Tigers. So kind of your thoughts on how that first half went and, what we can kind of take away from that.
Yeah, I mean, offensively, first and foremost, I mean, I liked what they were doing, getting the ball out of Cade's hands quick, a lot of quick, easy reads. They ran the football. There was a lot of balance. They showed some different looks. It was I thought really their worst enemy in that first half was kind of the officiating. They got some tough spots. They got a really tough one on in that first drive, but they did a good job of they had to settle for 3, but you felt good overall on that drive that they would be able to sustain some offensive production and some consistency, and that proved itself in the second drive. And so I really liked. This was one of Garrett Riley's better called games. I think everything he did tonight for the most part made sense. There was a lot of they built off things, and they were multiple, and they did, but they were all creative ways to get your playmakers the football. And, they're not reinventing the wheel by any means, but it was just good to see them play like they knew they had better athletes than Boston College, and let's just get the ball out and let our guys work. Cade did a good job of managing the game, made quick decisions. Adam Randall, continues to look good running the football. Obviously, you had your best rushing total on the night as a collective team effort, and so that was all good to see. Just very pleased with what I saw. I thought the line was solid for most of the night. You saw a lot of Braden Jacobs at left tackle tonight over Tristan Lee. I think there's a noticeable difference. I think there was, especially in pass protection. I thought he held up really, really well. So that's good to see him get more action as the season goes on. And yeah, I mean, your playmakers made plays. Antonio Williams, good to see him have his best game of the year so far. He looked healthy, looked shifty again. Looked at his speed, looked like it had come back. That hamstring doesn't look like it's bothering him. And Bryant Wesco, just continues to be really great, really good. 5 catches, 106 yards in that first half. Probably, it was probably the star of that first half, and good to see him, make some plays. That touchdown throw from Cade, what hell of a ball after you forced the turnover. And just a hell of a catch too, adjusting to it. It looked like 2 guys that had been playing together for a while and knew knew the timing and they went and made a play. So proud of the offensive effort, and defensively thought the pass rush looked the best it's had all year. Thought I saw more guys winning their one-on-ones. It wasn't just getting pressure, having to send extra guys, but I felt like the defensive line in general looked like they were affecting the passer more. Thought they defended the run pretty okay. They limited Turbo Richard. I mean, he had 18 rushes for 75 yards. Not didn't take him out of the game by any means, but he only had one catch out of the backfield. That's probably I haven't looked at his game log, but that's probably the lowest it's been.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think the front seven did a really good job, and it generated tackles for loss, sacks. It was good to see.
Yeah, great to see all that stuff. I mean, it's it was fun to watch the offense in the first half. Really, just kind of execute and move the ball down the field methodically. A lot of chunk plays for this offense today. A lot of 20+ yard plays. Great execution with that, being explosive. Something that they got to continue to build more consistency with. As the competition steps up, like it will next week against SMU. You're going to play a better team next week. You're going to play a more competent team, a team that's going to challenge you in a lot more ways than you have been challenged in the past 2 weeks by UNC and Boston College. But again, it's good to see the offense kind of explode in these first halves, and just kind of have a lot of success and kind of have their way with the defense they're playing. Defensively, I think they played really well. For basically the entire game, including the 2s and 3s that got in at the end and held BC out of the end zone, held them from scoring any more points. They got 10 points in the game. All of those came in the first half, and the defense holds strong for the rest of the game. So shout out to the defense. Jaheim Lawson is an absolute monster out there. His presence is felt often out there on that defense. So I know we mentioned him a couple times in the stream that we did with the members only, but really good to see a guy like that just develop in the program. But Jordan, let's talk a little bit about the second half. Wasn't quite as productive offensively for the Tigers in the second half. Obviously, first possession of the second half, Clemson drives right down there, going in for a score, and Cade Klubnik does an inexplicable short arms the ball, whatever the case may be, right to a defender with a wide open Adam Randall in the end zone behind the defender. I don't know what happened on that play, but it went right to the defender. Not a great ball. And then obviously the next drive, they drive right back down there again, get in the red zone again. Cade Klubnik takes the ball, calls his own number, and takes a hit that I think was a poor decision to take. I appreciate the effort. I appreciate the grittiness to stick your head in there. But when it's, I think at that point, 34-10, your starting quarterback doesn't need to be taking hits like that. He's got to play with a bit more intelligence than that. And kind of rolls his ankle up. Didn't see him the rest of the game. Chris Vezina comes out and immediately throws an interception in the end zone. So first 2 drives of the second half for Clemson were good drives, but just ended in interceptions, turnovers in the red zone. So kind of, Jordan, your thoughts on the second half and why we're kind of seeing this deflating second half for the offense in 2 consecutive weeks after very similar and explosive first halves. Your kind of thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, sure, you can say that, some of it is just, teams, the other team is allowed to adjust. And, I think there's some truth to that. But, it's just guys like reverting. It's like they revert back to some of their old habits in a way. I don't know. It was, today it was, they moved the ball down the field, and that was you had a touchdown, you would have had 40 way sooner than the last possession of the game. But it was just short arms it for whatever reason. And Jay in the comment says that word is that Cade told coaches the ball slipped on the interception, and it might have, but yeah, it was not a good ball.
Yeah,
Regardless.
I hope something like that happens because
Yeah.
I hope he didn't mean to throw the ball there. Like, obviously, I hope it slipped or it came out. He just didn't get enough on it. Whatever the case may be, but yeah, I'm sure he wasn't trying to throw the ball there because if he was, that's even worse.
Right. But, good on the defense for, not letting it become points. And, I don't know. It just, once Cade took that hit, it was like, all right, well, we're going to pull him. We got to see Chris Vizina, and it was very, very much, you saw why he's the backup quarterback and not the starter. Still doesn't look quite ready to run the offense. He had a couple of nice. Moments. He had a run for a first down on a read. But it's clear that it's clear that he's not ready to start, and he still has a lot of developing he needs to do based off of the action that we've seen from him in back-to-back games. It's just that he doesn't have it yet. But want to praise the defense despite the offense not giving you any production. Like I said, held them out of the end zone, forced turnovers. I mean, when you lose the turnover battle 3-2 and you win by 31 points, I mean, I think that says it all.
We're making a habit of losing that. We're making a habit of losing that turnover battle. That's not going to bode well for the rest of the season if we continue that.
Yeah. Hey, but one thing that they haven't done as well this year is possess the ball for for longer than the other team, and so they won the time of possession. 30. They held the ball for 37 minutes, so that's it was a nice change of pace. And like I said, back to the defense, I think the defensive line, they were getting pressure. You mentioned Jaheim Lawson; he was fantastic tonight. Stephylon Green Stephylon Green is special, man. He's going to be a really good football. I mean, he already is a really good football player, but he's only going to get better. Good to see Peter Woods get in on a sack. T.J. Parker had a really nice night. I thought it was just a collectively a really good effort from the defensive line. They were getting pressure. Dylan Lonergan never really looked comfortable, and you forced a fumble that ended up that you turned into points. So all of those things are good to see, and that's the because Clemson hadn't forced a turnover at all since the Troy game. So forcing two tonight, that was nice to see. Between the forced fumble and then the Ricardo Jones interception in the end zone, that was a really, really great play by him. Way to get a hand down, so that to make that interception and not just an incomplete pass. So you got the touchback in that flip field position too a little bit. So very, very good effort from the defense. Don't have too many complaints. I thought they adjusted really well after the one touchdown drive they gave up. So, just hey, when you send pressure, and good things happen more often than not. That's what this Clemson defense. I tweeted this out. Clemson's defensive identity has always been, pressure, tackles for loss, forcing turnovers. Man coverage, not playing like the soft zone on third and long that gets picked apart. Like we saw a couple of times tonight. They, when they got after it and got after guys, and were creative in their pressure packages, good things happen.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I don't think you can, kind of shout out the defense enough tonight. They did great. Really like to see those 2s and 3s come in at the end and kind of seal the deal for them, and keep Boston College out of the end zone, keep them from putting any sort of significant drives together. So it's always good to see when you see those reserves come in and hold the standard. Nice to see that last touchdown drive for the Tigers. Thought that was really cool. for Hammerhead there. Keith Adams
Yeah.
Jr. Brought in, all the backup linemen in there as well. Took out all the starters and just let those dudes grind it out and be like, hey, go get them a touchdown. And that's exactly what they did. I don't blame Boston College's defense there. I wouldn't want to be tackling Keith Adams Jr. late in the fourth quarter when you're getting blown out either. That dude is not a fun guy to tackle. He looks like he's running through a brick wall every time he gets the football. It's really fun to watch, and just proud of him, man. Glad that he got himself a touchdown tonight. That was really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm glad they finished. It was going to be really disappointing to have the final score in the same as the halftime score.
Yeah.
At least on the offensive side, I was happy the defense kept the same score. But yeah, just go down some of the stats. Clemson had 28 first downs to BC's 15. Total yardage, Clemson hit the 500-yard mark for the first time this season and over doubled up Boston College. That Clemson had 504, Boston College at 221. Clemson 278 passing yards on 33 attempts, 8.4 yards per pass. They did throw 2 picks. Obviously, the Cade Klubnik one and then the Vizino one in the end zone. Those were both not great, but all in all, an effective passing day. BC 136, 4.7 yards per attempt. You'll take that every day. And obviously the rushing total was the biggest disparity in terms of just kind of the most glaring one. Clemson had a lot of success running the football, 43 rushing attempts, 226 yards. They had some explosives in there. It was a very balanced attack. What we've been wanting to see from this group, and that was nice to see. Like I said, they possessed the ball for 37 minutes. So it says a lot about how well they were. They moved the chains. They possessed the football. Kept BC's offense off the field for a lot of the game, and they went and punched it in, especially in that first half. So all in all, just very, very pleased with this performance. There are certainly things to talk about that weren't great. I'm still kind of iffy about how much of this will translate into next week, because you've gotten pretty fortunate with the 2 teams you've played the last 2 weeks. So how does it scale? Yes, that's the ultimate question. But I got to give credit where credit's due. I mean, they still exceeded my expectations tonight based on my score prediction. So I think that's good. And if you're going to break out the orange britches early, you better win in them. And they took care of business.
Yeah, absolutely. You better win in them. But good win for the Tigers tonight. Look, at the end of the day, this is not some puff your chest out and walk around like you won anything of significance, because you haven't. You've played 2 bad teams 2 weeks in a row, and you've rolled them in consecutive weeks, which is what you should have done. That's what we expect you to do. They're overmatched. They don't have near the talent you do. And this Boston College team specifically is riddled with injuries all over the place. So you should have came in here and rolled, and that's exactly what you did. So the question moving forward for the Tigers is, how does this scale? Like you said, Jordan, what does this mean for the rest of the season? Has Clemson's offense truly figured something out, or is this just a result of playing bad teams? I think the answer is probably a little bit of both, right? I think it obviously has to do with the level of competition you've played for 2 weeks. But I do think they've probably figured out some stuff offensively. Just sheer momentum things, right? Just sheer confidence building things. Because some of those guys were, playing really tight. Nobody looked like they were having fun. And for 2 weeks in a row, people are really excited on the sideline. There's a lot of energy. There's a lot of fun being had. There's a lot of celebration. So you hope that they can at least carry some of that over into next week against a big matchup when SMU comes to Death Valley and tries to avenge their ACC championship loss, last second 56-yard walk-off field goal from Nolan Hooser, right? So they're going to try to avenge that. This is going to be a big game. I'm sure SMU has circled this game on the calendar for the entire season. But, we'll see. To be determined. I still don't fully trust this team whatsoever. I have to see it against some better competition. I have to see them, continue this type of play. And I would really like to see them play a full game. But that still eludes this Clemson Tiger team this year. They are not capable yet of playing a complete game, 40 minutes, 4 quarters of solid football. But maybe one of these days they will before the season's out. You mentioned the orange britches. I mean, it doesn't really bother me that much, but I don't necessarily like it. I don't think this is an orange britches type of game. We reserve those for trophy games, for the South Carolina rivalry game, obviously, and championship games. So why we wore those today, I don't really know. I don't care for it, but it doesn't make me mad either. So whatever. But Jordan, let's talk about, I guess, the elephant in the room here, Cade Klubnik. He did go down on the second drive of the third quarter. Dabo at the end of the game said that it was his ankle. Looks like he got rolled up on there a little bit. Took a big shot. Your thoughts on Cade? Obviously we don't have any details on how significant the injury to his ankle is, but your just kind of thoughts on that whole sequence, that play, and then maybe some projecting without knowing all the answers of what this will mean for the Tigers.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have too many thoughts on that play other than slide, man. I mean, you can't take those type of hits. I mean, you got to do what you can to avoid them. And he paid the price, and it was awkward, in real time. And then the replay showed it. I mean, he got rolled up on pretty good. But he got up on his own power. He was okay. Seemed to be okay in the sideline. When I saw the hit initially, I was like, did he get concussed? But he seemed like he was okay on the sideline. Albeit with a little bit of a limp in his gait. But I based off of that, I wouldn't expect him to be out next week. But I definitely think it will affect how willing they are to run him against SMU. We'll definitely learn more, throughout the week. But looks like he's going to be fine. But you got to learn to slide, man. You're a senior. I don't know. I guess I can't get mad at him too much because it seems like there's a lot of college QBs today that just don't know how to slide. I mean, hell, Trevor Lawrence didn't slide when he was here, or when he did. The few times he did, it was awkward, like he hadn't practiced it. So, tells you what they think. I mean, and with how often Clemson runs the quarterback anyway, it's probably even more likely that they don't really emphasize sliding all that much. They'd rather him fight to get the first down and or
yeah.
whatever.
I mean, and look, I'm fine with my quarterback being gritty and being tough and fighting for extra yards when the game's on the line, right? Not when it's 34-10 in a game that's essentially over. That's not the time to lower your head on the goal line and try to pump through two guys. That's not the time to do that. There is a time and a place for that, and I appreciate Cade's willingness to do that. But like you said, you got to know the situation that you're in, right? It's 34-10. You're not in danger of losing this game at all. So just slide,
Mm-hmm.
Just slide. Just get down. Protect yourself. You're the starting quarterback. We've seen 2 weeks in a row what we have behind you, and no Clemson fan is interested in any of that. So we need K. Klubnik to stay healthy, be healthy. So don't be taking shots like that, especially when the game's already out of hand. But I think he'll be okay. It's always you never know with ankles. I'm assuming he sprained it. How bad he did, who knows? Those can be nagging injuries that last for quite some time. So we'll see the severity of it. I'm sure they won't give us any information other than he's fine. We'll really see next week playing SMU if they're calling plays the same way and he's out there moving the same way. Then we'll actually what the ankle's really like. But just good overall team win, Jordan. Let's do a couple standouts, offense and defense. Who really stood out to you offensively today, and then likewise on the defensive side of the ball?
Yeah, offensively, it was. I think K. Klubnik, especially in the first half, certainly stood out. On the offensive line, I thought Braden Jacobs was phenomenal at left tackle. I think he gives you a little bit of just honestly more size and honestly more play strength and it just he looked like he held up pretty well in pass protection. I think honestly in that first half especially, I mean that five looked like your best five. I think it was Jacobs, Sadler, Linthicum, Parks, and Miller. They looked pretty good playing together. So I think we'll definitely see more of that lineup combination moving forward. I'm all for it. They look good tonight, but and to see that group continue to build rapport and all of that. I mean, it still want to try to get other guys involved, but I feel like those are your best five. They look like your best five. Obviously, Bryant Wesco was great. He just continues to be awesome. Antonio Williams, he had 87 receiving yards and 32 rushing yards. What if the math? That's what 119 yards from scrimmage.
Over 100 for purpose, yeah.
Yeah, so really, really nice night, nice day for him. Who else? Adam Randall. He didn't get a ton of burn, but he looked pretty good. Finished in the end zone once. And just good to see him continue to be productive. They made it an effort to get him involved early on. Josh Thapp had a big play. Good to see him out there. I think, but like if I had to narrow it down, I'd say, Cade, Wesco, Braden Jacobs. Those would definitely be my three on offense, and then defensively, I already mentioned a couple of them. I thought the whole the defensive line at large played really well. Peter Wood, Stephon Green, T.J. Parker, Jaheim Lawson. Even Cade Denhoff showed a lot of explosion off the edge multiple times. That was good to see. He looked really good on a couple of snaps. He didn't quite finish the play, but he looked good. And it was nice to see like the backups get in there and play really well too. Champ Thompson, guy we haven't spent any time really talking about because he was a red shirt. He's definitely a red shirt candidate, but it was good to see him get a sack. I thought they looked good. Linebacker wise, thought Sammy Brown looked great. Kobe McLeod was involved in a lot more plays today, and he's been. I think he's getting more comfortable. At defensive back, didn't hear too many the corners name called. Obviously, BC didn't throw all that effectively. So I mean, honestly, the secondary as a whole played really well, especially when they weren't being asked to play in that soft zone. They just had a lot more success. So I think those would be my standouts.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned some good ones there. Obviously, there's quite a few offensively to choose from. Cade Klubnik obviously had a good day. For the portion of the game that he played really well. Outside of that, just boneheaded or missed throw on that interception. Outside of that, he played a really clean game, delivering the ball accurately, delivering it on time. Brian Westco, I mean, you can't talk about the offense without mentioning him, going over 100 yards in the first half. But shout out to a guy that doesn't get a lot of burn ever and scored a touchdown tonight, Hammerhead, Keith Adams Jr. Shout out to him. What a way to end the night. Was a great cap to this game and got us to the 40-point mark, which we were really excited about. So, and can't think of a better guy for that to happen for. So, shout out to Keith Adams and that poor Boston College defense that had to try to tackle him.
It looked like they had no interest. That they were worn down quite a bit.
He was brutalizing them, man, and he's fun to watch. So, shout out to him, and then defensively, Jaheim Lawson, man, he pops off the screen every single week, man. That dude has gotten so much better since he's been at Clemson. He's developed into, an every down defensive end for Clemson. And he's a guy that gives a lot of quality snaps to us. And that's something that we weren't exactly sure coming into the season that we would have, although he showed flashes last year and showed a lot of growth last year. I mean, this year it's just night and day for him. The light bulb is on. He's physically finally developed into a player that can perform in both the run and the pass rush. So excited to see him. Sammy Brown with the big play tonight, the kind of sack fumble that TJ Parker picked up. That was a big play. And then let's see, who else?
I forgot to mention Ricardo Jones, who obviously
Ricardo Jones, that crazy interception that he had in the end zone. What a play there. Avion Terrell, a couple plays there tonight, being aggressive. I know he got flagged for the pass interference, but I liked it. He was battling. Man, overall, really good day for the Tigers. When you look at it and you step back, it went about as well as you would wanted it to. Although you would like to see a little bit more production in the second half. It's okay. It's okay. It was a good win. You got out of there relatively healthy. Fingers crossed that Cade's all good to go. And you go see what you can put together for next week. Not that we're talking about next year, but just kind of projecting. We got a quarterback problem next year, man. We got nothing. We got nothing behind Cade right now. I'm 100% in the camp right now of we need to be looking in the transfer portal come season's end for a signal caller. But that won't help us this year, nor does it matter for this year. So, you got anything else, Jordan? You wanna kind of hit before we turn it over to the people?
Shout out to I thought the end of half sequence. They executed that pretty well. Although they really
Yeah.
They probably really should have just spiked it with 5 seconds left, but good execution. Way to get you get that snap down by Clay Sweeney. Will Sweeney's been graduated. Uh, there's too many of them.
One of the
But
Sweeneys.
yeah,
One of the Sweeneys was out there holding.
Yeah, it was one of them. It might have been Drew or Will out there in disguise, pretending to be Clay, but we would never know.
What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do for a holder when Clay Sweeney graduates?
Yeah, they don't have
We
another
don't have
one.
more Sweeneys left to hold the football.
Yeah, or I don't know. I mean, get one of the I don't know. Does trying to think of who else has a kid.
I don't know.
Is the Venables? There's no more Venables.
Nope.
After Tyler leaves, so I don't know.
Tyler's gone. That's it for the Venables.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll have to.
We just won't be able to kick field goals anymore. We'll just have to.
Yeah, just don't kick them anymore until we
go
find a family member.
And then with extra points, we'll just have to go for 2.
Yeah,
we ain't got no holders no more.
Yeah, but Nolan, it looked like he, we haven't talked about it much, but Nolan's been kind of shaky this year. It was good to see him, knock a couple down. And like I said, that the end of half sequence, I can't believe they at first ruled, let the clock run down like that after Tristan Smith's catch. That didn't really make any sense. I thought he got out of bounds, but I definitely knew he got the first down. So the fact that the clock ran was ridiculous to begin with. They probably should have just spiked it because they had 5 seconds. They could have spiked it and then just gotten set up. But instead, they had the field goal kicker, the field goal unit out there, and as soon as the ref's whistle blew, Holden Casperson, he snaps it. He didn't have to, but I think he probably panicked. I don't know if he knew necessarily how much time they had, or how much time he had to get the snap off. But he definitely rushed it. It was high, but Clay did a good job of bringing that snap down and putting it in good position. And Nolan knocked it down. I think was that like a 51-yarder?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So. Good execution by special teams today. And the block or the fumble. I'm sorry, the muff punt where the kicking or the opposing player blocked somebody into Wesco. Apparently, that there's no rule against that. You can't. So here's how fair catch interference is called. Okay, so an opposing player cannot be blocked into a returner in terms of, so that way like you draw a penalty. So like if I'm the receiving team, I can't have one of my players block one of their players into my guy, so it draws a flag. So that is not allowed. But an opposing player can block your own player into your receiver, and that's not that's not fair catch interference as long as they themselves don't make contact with your returner. So how does that make any sense? I don't know why. It's a dumb, but it's not against the rules. And I did talk to a player about that like 10 minutes ago, former player, and he said, yeah, that was a good play by BC, smart play by them. So yeah, that's why I wasn't called. So yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, it's only a penalty if the defender himself interferes. So yeah, he can use one of your players to interfere for you for him, and then not be called a flag as long as he doesn't make contact himself. So yeah, that's just a good play by them.
That seems like a very illogical rule.
Yeah. It kind of goes against the spirit of the rule, if you're trying, especially for safety reasons. But like, you also, I don't know who it was, but what Clemson player it was that got blocked that bad. I mean, you got to you gotta
come on, man.
hold your a little bit better. Than,
bro,
he got manhandled into the
you got to
returner
show
like
a little bit more fight than that, man. Like you
yeah.
can't be getting thrown into the receiver.
Yeah, that's a tough. Yeah, it doesn't really make sense, but that's the rule. That's a loophole that you don't really see often exploited, but because you don't really ever get the opportunity because most special teams coaches will teach the blockers not to get close to get that close to the returner if they can help it, so that they can't be blocked into their own guy.
Right.
But yeah, that's one of the rare times it came back to bite you. So. Hate to see it, but yeah, initially, when we were watching it live, I was like, "How is that not a penalty?" But yeah,
yeah, I thought for sure it was a penalty. I'm not gonna lie, but
yeah,
that's not. So it is what it is.
And I mean, so like, that wasn't a bad call, but the officiating tonight certainly was not the best. I don't want to sound like that. You won by 31 points. Yeah, you don't want to spend time talking about officiating, but yeah, I mean there were some rough calls, and I don't know, just and it wasn't even just some of the calls, but some of the reviews, the unnecessary reviews. It seemed like there was a lot of ticky tack stuff, but it's what it is. Got the win.
It's all good. Yeah, so Tigers get another big win, another easy win. Off to next week. SMU comes to town. We'll see how that goes. But Jordan, I think it's time to throw it to the comment section and see what the people are talking about.
Yep. Let's do it for a little bit. My eyes are getting heavy. I don't know if you're
yeah, no,
watching on
I'm
YouTube.
with you. I'm with you. I ain't got much left in me.
Yeah, I've
been at the ball field all day. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it.
Yeah. I had some prolonged blinks in here tonight. So
yeah.
I gotta make it through this. Let's see. Elsking says, I've seen enough from Vizina to say he's not going to work out. And I'm not even to the point where I think it's the fact that he's not going to work out, but I don't think you've seen enough from him to take the chance that he will work out. At the very least, I think you need to consider going and getting somebody that you feel like can compete for the starting job. Yeah, if Vizina beats him out, Vizina beats him out. That's fine with me. But you gotta.
I mean, if I had to lay money on it, serious money on it right now, he's not the guy. He's not the guy. But again, I'm with you. Go bring somebody in, and if he happens to beat him out, cool, whatever. Like, I want the best player to play, regardless of who that is. I just don't think it's going to be him. And if he is your best quarterback next year, I think it's going to be a long season.
Based on what we've seen, I mean, it's just.
And that's all we can go off of is the limited, the limited stuff we've seen so far. At no point in time, whether it be a spring game or the limited playing time that he's gotten, have we ever seen Chris Vizina go out there and actually look good. So I know they say in practice he does all this stuff, but we've yet to see it in either a spring game or an actual game.
Yeah, no way you should allow yourself to get that close to the return. Yeah, exactly.
No.
John asks, did CV even get one snap with a full set of 10 stars, Wesco Moore, OPH, 5 offensive linemen, Randall, et cetera? I mean, he did have the starting offensive line for a good chunk of it. I don't know if he got all the starting receivers. I think I saw it. I think he had Antonio Williams out there. I think he had Cole Turner.
Tristan
I mean,
Smith was out there.
yeah, and Tristan Smith. So I mean, it wasn't. It was kind of a mixed match of starters and two guys. But I watched those plays, and it wasn't even really like a necessarily all just because like he had the backups in that like they didn't execute. I mean, some of it was. I mean, he made an incorrect read on one of those options. I think actually on a couple. Obviously, the interception on his first play was that was just he forced that ball. I don't think that's all on him because you didn't really have to go for it. I get why they did it. They wanted to get him that opportunity, but he forced that football because he felt like he had to make a play on fourth down. That's just the product of a guy that hasn't played a lot of football yet, at least at the college level. He's still inexperienced.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I can't. I would like to see him with the full first team offense and see how he looks. But I mean, something tells me that that's not going to make that much of a difference. I think he's second string for a reason, and he's not ready to go.
yeah, I think he is who he is. I don't know. I don't think having because it's not like he hasn't played with a big portion of the first teamers in games.
Right.
And I don't think having just all of the first teamers in the game is going to make that big of a difference. I really
yeah. I don't want to give him I don't want to make excuses for him. I mean BC's backup quarterback came in and he wasn't great, but he didn't. He moved the ball, and
he ran for a lot of yards in the short time he was out there.
Indeed, he did. So I mean, he's got to settle down himself, and it's not like the second string guys that are playing with him are just all scrubs. Like he's got to some of those plays he's got to execute better.
Yeah. And I mean, they weren't going out there throwing the ball around a ton when he was in there. But I can't really blame them either because you went and threw that interception. So
they don't. Yeah, I don't.
You're not inspiring a ton of confidence out there.
Right.
When you are throwing the ball, you're missing a lot too. I mean, some of the throws that he threw tonight, weren't great throws. So, it's a double-edged sword. I know people want, go out there and let them cut loose, and I agree to an extent. But you have to give the coaching staff some confidence that you can handle that as well. So,
yeah,
I don't know.
And they don't. It's clear they don't think that much of them right now.
I don't think that, contrary to whatever they'll tell you in an interview, it's not. It appears that they don't trust him out there.
Let's see. David says, "I want to see more of Keith Adams earlier in the game. I know we need to get Gideon Davidson and easy snaps, but Adams needs them too. I mean, yeah. I mean, he's really every time he's got in this year, he's made some nice. He's run the football well. I mean, I like Keith Adams a lot, and he's also. I think he's probably the most experienced and the biggest plus in pass protection. Just big guy, low center of gravity. He can hold his own against blocks. Be nice to see him out there for those opportunities too, because he's bigger. But I think Gid is getting better.
Yes.
I think he picked up a couple of blitzes tonight. That's been the thing you had to. They've been really trying to work with him on because that's the biggest thing that he needed to improve on in order to be able to see the field more often. And it's clear that he's he's getting better. And he had 4 carries tonight. I think 4 carries for 20 yards. And he showed some nice bursts, and I'm excited to see how his snaps continue to hopefully increase, or at least his opportunities. Not really at the expense of Randall. I think Adam Randall's still your best back, but it was good to see him out there and getting those reps and those opportunities, because he just Dabo has been pretty clear that he came in and like pass protection and just being mentally prepared for the position was something that he had to have a learning curve on, because he's very much physically he's there. Like if it was all about traits, he'd be your starter or co-starter. So it really is between the ears and understanding the nuances of the position before they trust him to be out there more often. All right. Jay says, what I've gained about our coaching staff, no trust equals just lie about it all season and not take advantage of the portal that's built for that exact reason. Yeah,
he's not wrong. He's not wrong. He's got a point.
That sounds about right. Easy had one good run tonight. Yeah, he did.
He did. Yeah.
Ryan says this Vizzle for shizzle all next sizzle sucks for us.
Don't say that. Don't say that, Ryan.
We'll see. John says Brian was pissed about the game. You mean you mean Brian over at Clemson Football Live, aka Bobby Durkins, or are we talking about a different Brian?
Yeah, I'm
assuming he's talking about.
I'd assume he's talking about Brian Knight over at Clemson Football Live.
I have to go back and I have to go and watch his watch what he had to say about it. Because there were certainly some things to be frustrated with.
Oh yeah, that second half was frustrating.
Yeah,
for sure frustrating.
Yeah, Clemson Live, Brian. Let's see. Brian stays angry and critical. I don't know if Brian is he's certainly critical, and that's he tells it he tells it how he sees it. I don't know if he stays angry. I think sometimes because I think sometimes these are things things that happen that he talks about, or things that he expected to happen. So he's just he's not. I think he just calls things like he sees it, and sometimes he's critical, but for a good reason. Really have anything else? But yeah, there were certainly some things to certainly some things to be frustrated about, and we've talked about them, but at this point, this team is what they are, and they are what they've shown through 6 games, and not saying no, go ahead.
They're a very flawed team,
Yeah.
This version of the Clemson Tiger team, you might as well forget about all the preseason stuff and all the expectations and what we thought this team would be, because they are, and they're not going to be any of that. so you kind of recalibrate who you think this team is. They're very flawed. I mean, they're a team that is going to have their moments this season, but best believe the frustration is not over for this team. This team's not going to go out and just blow everybody else out on their schedule and run the table and do all that. That's not happening. So, that's just kind of the point I'm at with this team is I've accepted kind of who they are. I'm not happy about it, but they're not who we thought they were at the beginning, and I'm not happy with everything that happened in these past two games. But I am happy to see them win, and I'm happy to see the offense look competent for, I guess, 4 quarters now out of 8. The offenses look competent for 4 quarters out of 8. And really, the third quarter, although it went terribly in the red zone, they put up 2 good drives in the third quarter. But the red zone execution was awful.
Yeah.
They didn't finish.
They didn't finish, but that was actually an improvement from last.
That was an improvement, and like I said, I said it in the live stream. Me and Jordan were in there, and the channel members were in there. Look, you do this kind of stuff against better competition, it's going to get you beat. I'm fine and dandy right now, right? Yeah, offensive explosion in the first half, and then the second half you kind of disappear. That's fine against UNC. That's fine against BC. That's not going to be fine against some of the other teams you got coming up and you're going to play. That won't be fine. That won't work. That'll get you beat. So, there's obviously frustrations specifically with that second half. But I think the defense played really well all night. I think the offense just got to figure it out. Stop getting in their own way. Hopefully Kate's healthy the rest of the way because we need him. We need him.
Yeah.
We need him bad.
Yeah.
This offense cannot function without him. As bad as you think some of his moments, and they have been so far this season, he is by far the best option for Clemson winning football games.
Yeah.
And it's not close. So, that's just my kind of thoughts on this team. I don't have very high expectations for this team the rest of the way. So I'm not getting as probably irritated as I would have gotten coming into the year with the expectations that we did have.
Yeah. Durham did TJ Moore play? Yes, he did. He caught a screen pass.
Yeah, he played.
He just didn't get it. I mean,
he just didn't get targets today. I mean,
it was what it was today. I mean, Tyler Brown had 1 catch for 2 yards, I think. I mean, you didn't see a lot of guys. Cole Turner caught a screen pass. It wasn't the passing game was heavily, Bryant Wesco and Antonio Williams.
Yeah.
Just was what it was today.
The first drive was just pretty much Antonio Williams and Adam Randall. That's it.
Yeah.
That was the whole first drive. So it just goes like that.
Let's see. David Luss says defense is too shaky to think of running off 8+ straight wins. Offense may have found a groove. Cade's ankle pending, like you guys. Kentrop was seen to step in and beat better teams. I think we've seen the defense start to step up a little bit. I do want to give a lot of credit to the defensive performance tonight because, BC's defense had a lot of injuries, but their offense still had, their guys, their main playmakers playing.
Yeah.
So. And I don't think BC's a great, offense by any means, but they did a good job of limiting them. And, like you'll take 220 yards they had on the night. You'll take that against anybody every night. I don't know what the yards per play numbers look like, but I imagine they were pretty good. I could probably pull it up right now, but I think they were, I think that was a solid performance. I don't know how much of it will scale, and again, and really it's for both sides of the ball. In terms of how much will these performances scale against better competition. I mean, you'll find out really quick next week.
That's the key.
But you'd rather take these performances than the opposite, where if BC came out and gassed you all night, we'd be having a much different conversation. Yeah. So Boston College 3.6 yards per play on the night. Yeah, you'll take that every time. That's a very, very strong performance.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah. So good stuff by the defense. They weren't perfect, but perfection can't be expected. I mean, you gotta take the strong performances when you can get them. I cannot believe Jeff Sims is still playing college football. I've got this Arizona State Utah game on.
Yeah, I got that on too.
All right, let's do a couple more, then get on out of here. John says defense has major issues stopping slant passes. I don't even really think it's like major issues like with the deep like the players themselves like being unable to stop slant routes. I just think it's the calls like that make them susceptible. I mean, they played a lot of soft zone and get a lot of and you gave up a lot of cushion in the flats and the underneath routes. Like it was too easy a lot of the time. Well, in a couple of times in the first half, you have that was not a good throw. But you had those kind of things, happen. And I'm not going to be hypercritical of the defense tonight. I thought they largely played pretty well.
Yeah, they played really well.
Once they settled in, really was just disappointed in the one drive. So
yeah, that one drive really because they kind of went down methodically and scored. So
yeah,
that was a bad look. But outside of that, I mean, can't be mad at it.
Let's see. Alexander asks how many total sacks by the defense. 5, I believe, on the night. So good performance by them.
Yeah.
John asks, where was Christian Beneker tonight? He was there. He was out there, just didn't get kind of like.
He caught
like I said, it was one of those games. The passing game largely was Wesco and Antonio Williams, and then a dash of Adam Randall out of the backfield. There wasn't like a whole ton of Josh Sapp had a big catch. It just wasn't this wasn't a day where they spent a lot of time throwing the ball, spreading the ball around to different guys.
Christian Bentaker had one catch for 2 yards.
Yeah, so that was the catch. They said he was short of the line to gain on the first drive. I didn't really think he was, but that was. I mean, he played. Wow, that was a crazy pitch, but he got it. Jay asked, "What's your We'll let this be the last one. What's your outlook on next year's offensive line?" Yeah, I mean, when you think about the guys that you're going to be losing, I believe Ryan Linthicum is out of eligibility. Blake Miller is gone. Tristan Lee will be gone. Walker Parks will be gone. I think you're seeing some of the guys that I expect to see next year. I definitely think Braden Jacobs has a spot, has a starting spot on next year's line in some form or capacity. If you can get Elijah Thurman back healthy, I think he's definitely going to be involved. I think you'll see more Colin Sadler. I think I think he had one of his best games tonight.
Harris Sewell slide in.
Harris will probably step in at center.
Yep.
You saw Ronan O'Connell in the back half of tonight. He's going to be a factor. Mason Wade is a guy that we've talked about.
Hey, Ronan O'Connell got on that field and he was like, "They're gonna see me on tape."
Yeah, he's
I don't
a psychopath.
care what happens. They're gonna see me on tape.
he's a little bit of a psychopath. So it was good to see him.
I love it.
See him get healthy. Healthy
because he's in the back of the end zone. I'm not so sure he loved it.
Oh no. I'm interested to see how much Gavin Blanchard is in the mix next year. I think they're trying to hold him and preserve his red shirt, but I think next year he's going to be I think he's going to be a big factor. They feel like he's
Dabo seems to what he tells us is they really trust him. He could go out there and really play, but they want to preserve a year. So, I think honestly, for me, the outlook on offensive line is bright.
Yeah.
I honestly think they'll be better next year.
There are pieces. There are definitely pieces to work with.
We'll see how it all comes together. But it's got the potential to be better next year.
I would agree.
I know you got guys in there this year that have a ton of snaps and all that, but, some of those guys aren't playing well. That's just the reality of it.
Agreed.
So, I do think there's a big potential of an improvement next year.
Yeah. But of those guys I mentioned, those are the guys I think that'll factor in the most. John says, did Vic Burley play a snap? Yeah, he did. Big 45. Yeah, he was. I know I saw him out there. I don't know how many snaps, but he was out there. He did play. He was. Yeah, he was in basically that. I'm pretty sure he was in basically that entire drive that they scored the touchdown. It was him, Stefan Green, Denhoff, and Lawson. Yeah, that was not a great series for them.
No.
But yeah, he played. I said that Jay's question would be the last one, and then I answered another one. All right, for real, that's going to do it for us tonight. My eyes are getting heavy. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Still got about 30 people listening live right now. Make sure, if you haven't already, to hit that like button. Share these live streams with your friends. Of course, we're trying to continue to build the channel. We're getting ever so close to 6,000 subscribers. So y'all make sure to sub up if you haven't already. A lot of people that listen are unsubscribed listeners. So please consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell.
Actually, Jordan. I was looking at our analytics the other day. 60% of the people that listen are not subscribed.
Yeah, we need to. Let's fix that. Let's change that. So y'all go ahead and hit the subscribe button. It's free. You don't have to do anything extra for it. It's a great way to help support the channel. And like I said, hit that like button. We had a great time tonight with our channel members, watching the Clemson game. So if that's something that interests you, channel members are different than subscribers. They are subscribers, but they also give monetarily on a monthly basis. So if that's something that you want to consider doing, the join button is in the description right next to the channel. I think I think the only place it's not is on iPhone for whatever reason. So if you guys are interested in that and other exclusive content, consider joining the channel. It's a good time. like I said, we had a really nice time, just chopping it up with the channel members and watching the game live. So we are definitely want to do more of that. Yeah. But other than that, I think that's going to do it for us tonight. And we, like I said, we greatly appreciate each and every one of you that tune in.
Absolutely, guys. Thanks so much for being here. Appreciate each and every one of you. And we will see you Tuesday at 8 p.m. for another edition of the All In Show. And we look forward to seeing you guys then. You guys have a great rest of your weekend, and we will see you Tuesday at 8 p.m. Until then, I'm Tiger Paul. He's Jordan Bowman. Go Tigers.
Later, y'all.